I returned the bag with $50,000 cash, and my wife is furious. This story, which explores the depths of human morality and the immense pressures of modern life, is based on a real-life account that challenges common perceptions of right and wrong. What if the most honest act you could perform led to the greatest conflict within your own home? Imagine a choice so profound it could save your family's future or tear it apart, all while upholding a deeply ingrained sense of integrity. This is the story of Michael, a man whose steadfast belief in doing what is right collided with the harsh realities of survival, leaving him to question the true cost of his principles. Michael had always considered himself an ordinary man leading an ordinary life. His days consisted of a dependable, if uninspiring, job, and his evenings were spent with Judith, his wife, navigating the familiar rhythms of their shared existence. They lived in a modest home, a place filled with memories, but also burdened by the increasing weight of a mortgage they struggled to meet. The global economy had been unforgiving, and Michael's hours had been cut, leaving them in a precarious financial situation. Foreclosure notices, once abstract threats, now sat on their kitchen counter, stark reminders of their impending crisis. The stress had begun to fray the edges of their relationship, making every conversation about bills a minefield of unspoken anxieties. One crisp autumn afternoon, seeking a brief respite from his worries, Michael decided to take a walk in the local park. The air was cool, carrying the scent of fallen leaves, and the gentle murmur of distant traffic was a comforting hum. He often found solace in these walks, a chance to clear his mind and momentarily escape the relentless pressure of their financial predicament. As he strolled along a less frequented path near the old oak trees, something unusual caught his eye. Partially hidden beneath a pile of leaves, a dark duffel bag lay on the ground. It seemed out of place, abandoned. A flicker of curiosity, then caution, prompted him to approach it. Michael cautiously nudged the bag with his foot. It felt heavy, unexpectedly so. His heart began to pound with an unfamiliar rhythm as he knelt down and with a hesitant hand unzipped it. Inside, neatly stacked bundles of cash filled the bag to the brim. $50,000. The sight of it stole his breath away. The crisp, green bills represented a fortune, an unimaginable sum that could erase their debts, pay off the mortgage, and banish the dark cloud of foreclosure that hung over their home. For a long moment, he simply stared, his mind racing through a whirlwind of emotions: shock, disbelief, and a surge of desperate hope. His first thought was of Judith, of her tired eyes, and the silent fear they both carried. This money, he realized, could be their salvation. It was enough to wipe out their financial woes entirely. Yet, as quickly as the thought arose, another deeper conviction took root. This was not his money. It belonged to someone else, someone who must surely be frantic with worry over its loss. Michael had always believed in honesty, in the principle that integrity was paramount, even when it was difficult. The thought of keeping it, of taking something that did not belong to him, felt fundamentally wrong. The internal debate was swift but intense. The immediate relief that the money offered warred with the deeply ingrained moral code he lived by. Ultimately, his conscience prevailed. Without hesitation, he zipped the bag closed, picked it up, and began the walk to the nearest police station. The walk felt surreal. Each step was a testament to his decision, a heavy affirmation of his values. At the station, he explained his discovery to the desk sergeant, who listened with a mix of surprise and admiration. Michael detailed where he found the bag, the time, and the circumstances. The officer thanked him for his honesty, assuring him that they would do everything possible to find the rightful owner. Michael left the station, feeling a strange blend of relief and unease. He had done the right thing, he knew, but a gnawing question lingered. What would Judith say? He drove home, the silence in the car amplified by the churning thoughts in his mind. He rehearsed the conversation, imagining Judith's reaction, hoping she would understand. When he entered their house, Judith was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, her shoulders visibly slumped from the day's burdens. He walked over to her, his voice measured as he began to recount his afternoon, starting with his walk in the park and the discovery of the bag. He watched her face as he spoke, seeing the initial flicker of surprise turn to confusion, then to a dawning, horrified realization as he told her about the money. As he concluded his story by stating that he had returned the entire sum to the police, the air in the room grew thick with an unspoken tension. Judith turned slowly to face him, her eyes wide, disbelief etched across her features. Her voice, when it came, was a whisper of accusation. She asked him if he was serious, if he had truly handed over such a large amount of cash when their home was about to be taken from them. She stated that he had thrown away their only chance, their lifeline, the one thing that could have saved them from ruin. Her frustration escalated quickly, her voice rising with each word, expressing a profound sense of betrayal. She explained that their home, their stability, their very future was on the line. Michael attempted to explain his actions, stating that the money was not theirs, that keeping it would have been wrong. He emphasized his belief that good deeds would eventually be rewarded. Judith, however, was in no mood for philosophical discussions. She reminded him of the foreclosure notices, of the sleepless nights they had endured, of the despair they both felt. She expressed that his honesty in this instance felt like a deliberate act of self-sabotage, a noble gesture that would cost them everything. She stated that he had chosen a moral high ground over their survival, over their family's stability. Her frustration morphed into a deep, raw anger, and then, to his shock, she uttered the words he dreaded. She declared that she could not live with a man who would prioritize an abstract principle over their very existence, and that she would leave him. The threat of divorce hung in the air, a chilling pronouncement that shattered the fragile peace of their home. Michael stood stunned, grappling with the weight of her words. He had expected anger, perhaps disappointment, but not this absolute declaration of an end to their marriage. He had always believed in the purity of his intentions, in the simple truth that one should always do the right thing. Yet, here he was, facing the potential loss of his wife, his home, and his entire future, all because he had acted with integrity. He looked at Judith, seeing not just anger, but a raw, unadulterated fear for their future. A fear he recognized because he also felt it. He realized that her outrage was not born of greed, but of desperation, a primal instinct to protect what was theirs, even if what was theirs felt as if it was slipping through their fingers. The following days were filled with a suffocating silence, punctuated by tense, hushed arguments. Judith would not look at him directly, her disappointment a constant, palpable presence. Michael found himself caught in a tormenting cycle of introspection. Had he made a mistake? Was honesty truly the best policy when the stakes were so incredibly high? He considered the potential consequences of his actions, not just for himself, but for Judith, for their shared life. He thought about the peace of mind that would have come from knowing their home was safe, the relief that would have flooded Judith's face. He also considered the guilt he would have carried, the gnawing secret that would have eroded his sense of self. He understood that Judith's reaction stemmed from a different kind of truth, one rooted in the brutal realities of their financial struggles. For her, survival superseded abstract morality. Weeks turned into months. The police had not located the owner of the money, and the foreclosure process continued its relentless march. The tension between Michael and Judith remained, a chasm of resentment and misunderstanding. Their love, once a steadfast anchor, now felt like a frayed rope, threatening to snap. Yet, through it all, Michael held onto a quiet resolve. He did not regret his choice. He believed that even in the darkest moments, one must stand by their principles. He continued to search for extra work, to cut every possible expense, and to fight for their home through legitimate means. He knew that their future was uncertain and their relationship deeply wounded, but he also believed that a foundation built on integrity, however painful in the short term, was the only foundation worth having. The profound question of whether his integrity was worth the cost to his family remained unanswered, a constant echo in his mind. This story reminds us that life often presents us with impossible choices, where the line between right and wrong becomes blurred by circumstance and survival. But I want to hear from you. If you were Michael, facing the loss of your home and the fury of your spouse, would you have returned the $50,000? Or would you have kept it to save your family?